explode into a big, big cacophony of moths any minute now. Good thing you are watching the Vomitorium, or else you wouldn't know this. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Good luck in the apocalypse! You're currently watching The Vomitorium. You can support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show!
I got a bunch of stuff. I came prepared for us. Don't worry. Do not worry.
Cool.
But we are
Very
live. Cool. So welcome to the Vomitorium, everyone. As always, I'm your host, Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer, who is awake. That is a fact. How are you doing today?
Just barely. Good. Sorry, I'm a little trying to get everything ready. I don't have my lights on or anything. Well, now I do.
Yeah.
So doing all right. See my shirt that I got for?
Oh yeah,
for
no,
Christmas?
I was appreciating it. I like that shirt.
Am I working from home or living at work?
Oh, that's how I feel. Because having to like juggle my own schedule with all the projects and stuff that I do, it's just like, and freelancing, it's like there is no divide between work and home when you have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great gift. Who gave it to you?
My mom.
Oh, nice.
Just happened to wear it for the first time today. But yeah, I got a package in the mail from my office that, you know, I was hoping was our bonus check, but apparently not.
They actually give you your bonus in check form in the mail?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, that's really old school.
Yeah.
I would hate that. I don't even know if I can cash a check. I'm so used to digital payments. I'd have to go and open up a account with a credit union if somebody sent me a check.
I can deposit a check with my app, with my bank's app, but only up to like $5,000 or something. Which
I got banned from the service that does that because somebody tried to pay me with a bunk check once for one of my freelancing things, right? And the check, it looked legit. It looked like it was like a certified business check from a company down in California, but like the service recognized it right away, and instead of like giving me a warning or contacting me, they're just like, oh no, you're not allowed to use this service anymore, you've been flagged for it. I'm like, oh great. And it's the same service. It doesn't matter what bank you use, they all use the same service for it. It just reroutes to your bank. So like I've tried, I got banned for it over using Amex. I tried the PayPal version. It's like, oh no, you're already flagged for this thing. It's like, great, it's all the same fucking service. It's all run by Bank of America. Is the one who owns the service.
crazy.
Yeah.
Man, how is that your fault?
I know. Like, I don't know.
Well, that sucks. Well, no, apparently my company is rebranding or, changing, I don't know, rebranding. So they sent all this stuff with the new company logo and all that stuff. So
Oh, that's good.
woohoo.
Yeah.
Where's the bonus checks?
Do you really need all this branded stuff too if you're working from home?
They send it to everyone.
You gotta wear it on the Zoom call or whatever, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. There's nothing. They didn't send me a shirt or anything.
Oh no, nothing.
It was just like a notepad and a pen,
letterhead,
and a little
stuff like that.
Yeah, and a little pamphlet that says, here's our new, logo with the colors, the Pantone colors, and all that.
GMT's like new company swimsuit stream when. You imagine if your company sent you a swimsuit. Knowing most companies too, they wouldn't even give you something like nice swim trunks. They'd probably send like a Speedo and be like, why? You want your logo right over my junk?
Yeah, if my company sends me a Speedo, I'll show it off. I'll show it off on air.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm finally waiting for the day that we just get enough viewership that something we say gets us banned from Twitch, but I think that would beat us to the punch.
Oh, that would get tons of views.
Yeah, for like the one episode until it gets reported, and then we're done on that platform.
Oh.
But we'll still have YouTube. I don't think you can get in trouble on YouTube for that. There's nothing against their terms of service. As long as you're just not naked.
There's nothing against terms. I mean, I've seen women in skimpy bikinis
You know what
on
we got to do
Twitch.
first is we have to make sure, even though we're a talk show still, that we change it to the beach
Hot tub.
tubs and
Oh.
bathing category, whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
working hard from home or hardly working from work?
Should be hardly homing from work,
Yeah,
which
something like that.
would just make you a really bad homing missile.
Exactly.
Or homing pigeon, I guess. I kind of miss homing pigeons, but they're a very impractical way of sending messages because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, they only return to their roost. So I have to train it to live here, take it to the other guy so he can send me a message back when he finally wants to. That means periodically, even though we're sending messages back in secret through pigeons, somebody is still transporting the pigeons back and forth on their routes between the places anyway. It's like, it's great for secret messages when you absolutely need to send a secret message first, but like otherwise, this is a horrible way of getting information between each other.
Can you really miss homing pigeons if you never actually used them?
That's true. I did use one at a summer camp once, but
Really?
yeah, it was just like a gimmick. That was it. Like, they showed us that they trained the pigeons and stuff. And it's like, but you're sending it from one side of the camp to the other. You're not even actually sending anyone really a message. It's just so you can see
Yeah.
what a homing pigeon is like. But I can at least say I've used a homing pigeon before. Homing squirrels. Squirrels? Maybe. Pigeons aren't stupid, though. Like, they're smart. You have to give them a reason to go where they're going, so it being back to their roost is the only reason they'd go there. Otherwise, like, why would they listen to you?
So you take the pigeon and you travel somewhere far away,
So you could send it back.
and then you send it back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was great. I think
there's-
the last time it was used was during the Great War, right? And it was great for that because it's like, oh yeah, okay. The base was where we needed to send the messages back to, and so the scouts would take it with them on the front
Yeah.
line, and then you release it, and it takes it back. So we only need to send a one-way message in that case. But like
Yeah.
apparently kingdoms used to use this back in the day, like way back. And that implies that they have some soldiers periodically just taking pigeons over to the
Yeah.
other kingdom or whatever.
Is that how the crows work in Game of Thrones?
I think their ravens are just
whatever.
like
The
super
ravens.
smart from somewhere, and you can tell them the location they go. I don't think they actually realistically use them like homing pigeons. I'm not sure. Martin may have thought about that. Maybe they do transport ravens back and forth, but ravens are a bit smarter than pigeons. They are very intelligent creatures, but I don't think you could tell them the name of a location and they know where you're telling them to go.
Yeah, they must take the ravens
Yeah.
from all the different locations possible and just transport them all around, and then they have like all the ravens from the different locations.
Yeah, it'd have to be like a wife swap, right? Like they
Yeah.
all have their own, and then periodically it's like, oh, you're heading back to King's Landing. Here, take this raven with you, so the next time they need
Yeah.
to send us a message, they have it.
Yeah.
That's the way it should work, but I don't know. They send ravens to like the weirdest places. Like they sent a raven beyond the wall once, not like from beyond the wall to King's Landing. They sent it the other way around before too. I'm just
Yeah.
like, where? How did the raven know where to go?
I don't know. They
Yeah.
must be magic ravens.
They have to be, yeah. But let's see. Let's
I'm-
get into
I'm-
this.
I'm looking at the PlayStation games for January.
Oh, you see anything
Wanna-
interesting at all?
Well, Devil May Cry 5.
I'm guessing it's just a PlayStation 5 up port or whatever.
Yeah, I guess special edition. Life is Strange. Back for Blood.
Oh, okay. So that was one of those ones that people were really critical when they saw the first trailer, and there's like, oh, this just looks like a less spirited or less characteristic Left 4 Dead, right? Like Left 4 Dead had more soul to it when you look at the models and everything they were doing. But I've actually heard a lot of people were having quite a bit of fun with like the pre-testing stuff for Back 4 Blood. So I don't know, maybe I'll play it eventually.
Yeah, that's about it. Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Nothing I think I'd be interested in, actually.
Yeah.
Although I've never played Devil May Cry 5. Maybe I'll try that.
Have you played any of the Devil May Cries? Oh, they're a fun series. What I would actually recommend, since you have a Switch and you like your Switch, if the next time you see it on sale, pick up Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition on the Nintendo Switch eShop, because it's the definitive version of that game. And Devil May Cry 3 to date is probably still the best Devil May Cry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a shooter game?
No, there's guns in it, but it's not a shooter. It's a hack and slash game.
Okay.
That's based on like combos, like so you do a lot of combos and stuff, and it's kind of inspired. I think I brought this up when I was saying like what you should do for a 3D Metroidvania game is you should kind of go like over the top, not like quite over the shoulder, but like pulled back, almost isometric, but not quite so these days. But it it's Bayonetta-ish. Bayonetta is literally the same for like genre as Devil May Cry. When what's his name? Kamiya left Capcom when Clover Studios closed and made Bayonetta. He left Devil May Cry after the second one and made Bayonetta based off the fact that he wasn't working on Devil May Cry anymore because he worked on the first two. But yeah, so it's that type of game. The first one, you were in like a castle going around, you're hunting demons and stuff in it. There was rooms, sometimes there were some puzzles and stuff like that, and you were just killing things. It's very like
is it like Dark Souls at all?
I wouldn't say it's like Dark Souls. I would say it's more like Zelda, but if you put it in like the Resident Evil engine. Right. So it's kind of like Resident Evil 1 and 2 in the first Devil May Cry, where the camera is kind of like locked in the room that you're in and you're moving around doing things. Dante uses different weapons and stuff. And similar like God of War, there's like push puzzles and things like that in some of the places for you to do. There's boss fights. I think I could see it inspiring some of like Demon Souls with how old the first one was, but they go in like different directions. 3, though, is looser camera, kind of like how PlayStation 2 games just ended up becoming. So it's kind of like how later Resident Evil 4 and 5 are with the camera. Very fast-paced, though. Swords, guns. You use both at the same time, going back and forth between them. And you're climbing this tower that was put in the middle of town to try to kill a demon lord.
Okay.
It's also a prequel, which is why I tell a lot of people to start with that one too. It's the best game and it's the start of the story.
Neat.
Yeah. And the Switch version is the best version because in the original version, you couldn't switch stances or like styles on the fly. There's like different styles, like a trickster style, lets you do like more combos or whatever. There's Quicksilver style that lets you like stop time temporarily and things like that, kind of like Witch Time. You couldn't switch styles on the fly in the original version of the game. And in the Switch version, they actually added in style changing in the same way that Devil May Cry 5 has style changing for Dante.
So they have the first 3 on here.
Yeah, 1 and 3 are good games.
And the third one is on sale.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
For 50% off. So 2 isn't good?
2 is average. Right, I would say like the other 2 games are good. 2 is average. A lot of people like to shit on 2. I don't think it's a bad game, but it feels bad by comparison to Devil May Cry 1 that came out like I think 2 years before it. And really, all they did was they just used the exact same engine. Like they literally made the first one out of Resident Evil 2. They took the first one and they're like, okay, let's make a sequel out of the game instead of making everything again from the ground up, kind of like a Majora's Mask situation. But then it focused way too heavy on the guns for combat, and some of the other stuff was wonky. That's like it's a playable game. I enjoy it. It's just not above average.
All right.
Yeah. It's a great series, honestly. Dante's a likable character. One of the things I like about him too, especially in the first game, but it's like that in all of them. Dante doesn't really swear at all. He's like your edgy 2000s protagonist, but also like if he had a sense of humor and was making fun of your edgy 2000s protagonist. So he's got like his hair in his face and stuff like that. He's wearing like a red leather jacket, demon sword turns into a demon, guns and stuff. He looks super edgy, but the dude is just like puns, right? Like there's literally a boss is like there's a giant eagle, mythical eagle that you have to fight. It's like fighting a rock. And the rock is like, son of Sparta, you will die or whatever. And Dante's like, flock off, Featherface. Like he's just a great sense of humor. The puns are actually good, and I just love the character. He's amazing. Highly recommend anybody who hasn't played the Devil May Cry series to get into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, since I can get one for free this month,
Oh yeah,
I might as well try it.
Might as well. I would definitely recommend playing 3 before playing 5, though. Especially because like there's a lot of stuff in 5. I you probably could play that game for the first time, but you're not going to get anything. You can enjoy the game, but you won't get anything with 5. 3 you can play without playing the other 2 before it because it's a prequel and it sets things up without relying on you already knowing the character, which I think is like it's a good prequel because too many prequels rely on you of seeing the first installment or whatever. And then 1 doesn't require the prequel because of the order in which the games were made. So you can like enjoy 1 or 3 as your first, but like 4 and 5 really don't make sense if you haven't played at least 1 or 3 before that.
Oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
But I mean, honestly though, I know a lot of people who've played that game and it was the only Devil May Cry game they played was 5, and they still enjoyed the game. They just didn't like get the things that people who are like longtime fans of the franchise got.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, moving on.
They were just letting me know that they took the dog off to the field today, so I'm off the hook on having to walk it after the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, great game. I think
cool.
I think more people should play it. I think a lot of people get off-put though because the game is really bad at selling itself. If you're not already a fan, because like it doesn't really tell you what kind of game it is, right? I think actually Bayonetta does a better job of telling you what type of game it is, even though it doesn't have to, because it's directly marketing to fans of Devil May Cry. It's in the same genre.
Oh, really?
It should be like the other way around, where Devil May Cry is the one that needs to tell you what type of game it is, and then Bayonetta doesn't.
I'm not even sure I do know what kind of game Bayonetta is. I know there's some dancing involved and
well, Bayonetta is definitely
fighting.
It's a hack and slash game. I would call it a combo crazy game because that's kind of like the style points. All that stuff originally comes from Devil May Cry. The longer your combo goes, it'll go from like D to C to B to A to S, SS, triple S for stylish. DMC's kind of actually the one that Spectacle Fighter, maybe.
Spectacle.
I'm not against that. I don't like the word fighter specifically, just because like when I think of fighter, I think of like the 1v1 fighting games or arena fighters and stuff. This is more like a beat 'em up in a way. So Spectacle Brawler, I'm fine with Spectacle Brawler. That I think that one's a better one because Brawler and beat 'em up kind of go more hand in hand as a genre later.
Spectacle.
But it's definitely in like the beat 'em up genre to a degree, which is weird because it basically took Resident Evil's like framework, where they made Resident Evil 2, and they just like took that engine and they plugged in new assets to it, and they turned Resident Evil 2 into a beat 'em up game. That also still like a almost Metroidvania-esque manor castle exploration game where you have to go to this room to go back to this room to go back to that room to unlock this thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like
Did I tell-
spectacle brawler's fine.
Did I tell you somebody that I sort of know wants to do a Metroidvania
Yeah, we've talked about this a
game?
couple times.
Yeah, we talked about it. And they wanted to do it in Unity, but I need to
You
convince them that Game Maker would be better.
or almost anything else, that because Unity is just
Yeah.
a very bloated program. Like it's great to learn on, actually. I think if you just want an asset to learn how to make games, Unity's fine.
Mhm.
Because you don't even care how bloated it is. It functions. It can work in like any language. It's easy to
Yeah.
plug in assets. If you don't even play, like, I'm never selling this thing. This is just something to demo to learn. I recommend it because if you learn in Unity, it's also really easy to jump into Unreal immediately afterwards when you want to make something. I don't think you should make your big feature game in Unity, though.
Yeah. I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, in the Quake engine, it's open source.
Oh, yeah.
Quake engine's pretty good. Speaking of Quake engine, completely different because it's not actually that engine, but the predecessor to it. One of the funny stories that I had brought up for today is that somebody remade the original NES Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda, for VR, and it is thanks to Doom. So it's using, like, I guess MetaQuest 2 or whatever is like it's part of it, of the headset. And they basically just took Doom and how Doom uses the kind of like layering to take a 2D map and turn it into like a pseudo 3D image for you. And it does that by relayering all of the sprites in Zelda into that sort of... I guess this is actually kind of like a very early precursor to the idea of ray tracing. Like, I think you could trace it all the way back to Doom.
Oh, is that what this mod uses, ray tracing, to make this?
I don't know if it does. I'm just saying, like, if you were to take like what Doom originally did and then extrapolate to like what it can do to graphics years later, I would say that like ray tracing with the reflective light and all that is like the pinnacle of where that came from. But yeah, this basically it just functions exactly almost the way that Doom did for the map. Obviously, you can. Wolf 3D did it first. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Doom was the first one to do it. But yeah, it basically you're still moving around in the 3D world in the same way that you would using the software that Quest 2 uses. But the entire map and the sprites and everything are rendered using that kind of projected imagery. That's the term they use for it in Doom.
Yeah. How did they must have programmed the whole thing. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Like, this isn't playing like the regular Zelda game, because, like, normally the Octoroks don't come at you like that. Normally they just kind of wander around aimlessly. So that's cool.
But, like, I think this probably sped up a lot of stuff, because since they have the actual map, the sprite map of Hyrule first, then it's like, cool, now that we have the field, we can just, program events and stuff to happen inside of it.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah. I thought it was neat.
I want to see what the level 1 dungeon looks like. It's got, I mean, at least all the sprites and everything. You don't know, they didn't really have to. They should have been able to load most of this in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It looks almost exactly what you expect the dungeon to look like. Obviously, they had to mirror the floor sprite tiles to the ceiling, since there was never a ceiling. But yeah, no, that's good. Nintendo probably is going to sue, or maybe not even sue. They'll at least send a CMD.
Take down. Yeah.
It doesn't have to go as far as a lawsuit, but
is this downloadable, like playable?
I don't know. I actually don't know if it is or not.
It's funny. All right. Well, this goes on for 12 minutes, so
Yeah,
I'll,
we don't need to watch the whole thing.
stop streaming that. But that's pretty awesome. They did a good job.
Yeah, I always love it when fans do interesting things like that. It's like that's something Nintendo themselves should be doing. Like, I know they don't do VR, but like when you heard Nintendo Land was coming out for the Wii U, that's the type of stuff you were expecting to be in Nintendo Land, not these like knockoff extended Mario Party games that ended up in the theme park. Like, no, I wanted to walk around in Zelda or any of these other places. Virtual Boy 2.
It's a mod for Quest Z Doom, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. It just
Says-
a neat little thing.
Says something about a Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time mods as well, but I'm not sure what the article's referring to. But anyway,
I think
Cool.
of all the games, the original Zelda is the one that would look the best like that. And because of how simple the sprites are. I think if you took the more complicated sprite work from A Link to the Past, it would look more jarring to put it up like that.
yeah, I guess they're just saying somebody ported those games to the PC.
Oh, yeah. And people do that all the time.
Yeah.
I remember way back, and I'm sure there was probably a C&D on this because I haven't heard on it for a long time. Somebody was trying to reconstruct all of A Link to the Past in, I think it was Unreal 4, back when Unreal 4 first came out. And it was cool what they were doing because they weren't trying to make everything look all gritty. It was dark, but remember the beginning of A Link to the Past was actually pretty dark. But like the colors inside the map and everything they made very vibrant. Like they turned up the saturation on the grass so it wasn't like that kind of muddy green that all grass in the default Unreal 4 assets look like and stuff like that. But it was pretty cool. But yeah, I probably got a C&D.
Yeah.
Everything gets a C&D as if Nintendo sees it. Like, nope, bam, bam, bam.
Well, it's unclear where you can get this mod. So I don't know if like the video, because the video's up on YouTube. I wonder if that'll get. They haven't been striking people like playing their games lately.
No, not really. And if somebody does get a strike, it's usually music, right? Like the automated bot will hears like, oh, that's one of Koji Kondo's songs or whatever. And if you dispute it, they usually let it go. It's just everything's automated. No, they don't really care about the videos. Even the videos for most of these old projects are still up. They just care about the distribution of the project. Like if they see that you're even for free sharing it around with people, they'll send a cease and desist.
Yeah. Well, offhand, I can't even figure out where to find it. So
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe
Good luck,
Nintendo won't either.
They have the resources. If anybody's going to find it. They found that guy who was making that Princess Peach porn game for like 10 years.
Okay.
And gave him a C&D even though he kept doing it through like back channels and stuff. Like, nope.
Okay.
And I remember there was a big stink about that too. I think we covered it. And it's like, well, maybe don't spend the last decade of your life working on somebody else's property that you don't actually have the rights to work on, Come up with something original.
Besides, it should be Daisy porn, right?
I don't know. I don't know about that. Daisy's, she's got that tomboy energy, but she's a little too pure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay. So cool news, because we love our indie stuff, and I think probably one of the absolutely most exciting bits of news that came out in the last year was Donkey, video game Donkey, founded a publisher called Big Mode Games or whatever. We covered that, I thought that was cool. I think his name is ridiculous in a donkey fashion, but great. Everybody wants to play a big mode games. But it announced its first game called Animal Well. So Big Mode is actually going to be putting something out soon. And it is a puzzle-focused Metroidvania game.
Okay.
It does not have its own trailer, sadly, because it was snug or put into his best of 2022 video, because he does a best of video every single year. I don't know, maybe somebody's cropped it out and put it on Twitter or something by now, but it's hard to actually find the spot. But yeah, it's a 2D puzzle-focused platformer in a Metroidvania style way. I just heard lightning in Minecraft because they left Minecraft on.
Oh, I was wondering what the noise was. Well, what did they build it in? Did they build it in Unity?
I actually don't know. But actually, we probably could find a trailer. You can wishlist it on Steam right now. I'm gonna actually go look for Animal Well on Steam and add it to my wish list. Wish listing is actually very important. A lot of people don't know this unless you work with indie games and stuff a lot. People are trying to get it on Steam. But wish listing bumps it up for more people to see it. And it does a lot of different things with the Steam algorithm. And it's usually good for the developer to add games that you're interested in into the wish list. Which, oh, yep, I found it. I'm going to go do that now. Here. Because I have... What's it called? I have the URLs turned on for Steam. I can go and drop the link to it in the chat. There we go. Animal Well. I like it. I really like seeing this whole like movement of big creators who aren't happy with what they're seeing in the mainstream, and they're not happy enough just seeing indie stuff, right? Because it's you can support an indie project or make your own indie project, but unless you actually build like some type of infrastructure, like an actual publisher, it doesn't really actually help the entire medium. So you have people like Donkey making an actual publisher. There's some people who are actually trying to make publishers in like the indie comic scene. There are people that are trying to make new movie studios independently that'll cover multiple things. Because if you're only making one thing at a time, you're really not putting a dent into the problem of mainstream entertainment is in the fucking toilet right now.
Yeah. That looks cool.
Also really excited to see what other games his studio puts out. Because Donkey's got a lot of money to throw at this.
Yeah, yeah. So this is through his publisher.
Yeah, his publisher is
Mode.
Big Mode. He didn't make this. He's publishing it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much influence as a publisher he has on it, but I'm assuming he's pretty hands-off as long as the idea seems fun. That when he kept talking about his publisher, he kept talking about like the main focus was that we were just going to look at fun ideas, and because that's what gamers want. They just want to actually be entertained.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, it looks neat. Like a little blob moving around in a sort of a neon world.
Yeah. Love fun games like that. It's kind of like only the Blob side, but you remember playing A Boy and His Blob. It was always a fun game.
Yeah, feed him jelly beans. That's kind of like a precursor to Scribblenauts, sort of.
Yeah, it kind of was.
Right?
I would say so. I like
It's kind of like,
Scribblenauts.
yeah.
I think
It's kind of like you feed them different colored jelly beans. And couldn't you like mix colors and turn them into different things?
yeah.
Like unexpected combinations of things.
Yeah, kind of like in a like a Kirby 64 kind of way, where you could have up to 2 powers. You could shoot one power, another one, and have a mixed power.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. It was definitely my problem with Scribblenauts. Really, really good games, but the concept has a very specific shelf life of like I can only play the same game so many times. Stop releasing it, and they could have done more, like in the style of Scribblenauts, without it having to be the same game of like you just putting in words to solve puzzles and stuff. I think that was a lot. All the animations for Scribblenauts, I think, were done in Live 2D, which is kind of cool.
Really?
You can use Live 2D for animation.
Yeah.
Or I don't think it was Live 2D itself. It was like the precursor to Live 2D, but it's essentially the same program. You can capture do everything that was done in Scribblenauts in Live 2D. Which a lot of VTubers and stuff use now, especially if you're like one of they call them PNG tubers, the ones who don't have like 3D models, they're just like flat and stuff. Live 2D is really good for that. But you could make game animations, you can do simple cartoons and stuff in Live 2D. It's a pretty good program.
Yeah. I only knew it as the thing that VTubers use.
Oh yeah, no, it was around a lot longer than VTubing, but yeah.
Cool.
In fact, I think it was used for games more than it was for like VTubing and stuff, even in the earlier days of that. It might still be that, just because so many people use it for different things.
Cool.
But yeah,
cool.
yeah. Always,
I think there was something else I was
remind me
gonna.
of Paper
Oh, yeah.
Mario.
Yeah. Didn't Way Forward do the Boy and His Blob remake?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Way Forward does really good with like all the remakes they end up tackling, which is why I'm so upset that Advanced Wars is still delayed because of the whole Ukraine-Russia thing. They have not announced the actual like a new date for it yet.
It's ridiculous.
It's
Like,
the dumbest reason.
Who would have?
I would
Who
sell
would
it
have
during
made that
wartime.
connection? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would have made that connection if they hadn't brought it up? Like I
I think
never would have
somebody
even
would.
thought of it.
Because the red side does have some like old school Soviet themes to it here and there, but I don't think it really would have been a problem for literally anyone.
Yeah. Stupid.
It is. It is really stupid. Especially because I've been wanting to play that game. I keep getting shitty Fire Emblem games now because they can't just make Fire Emblem. So what I want is my freaking Advance War remake, which I preferred the War series anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They also did that amazing DuckTales remaster was really good too. Way Forward's great. Speaking of Way Forward, I actually have news related to Way Forward queued up. Since they are the publisher, actually not just the publisher, they're the studio that makes River City Girls, because Atlas licenses it to them. And there is a River City Girls 2 Guilty Gear crossover that is happening, which are two series that I happen to like, where in the game you can unlock Jam and Soul from the series, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. They call it an RPG light. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I guess it is a beat 'em up that has RPG like mechanics and stuff in it that you're used to, but like so were the old Kunio-kun games and stuff. Like it's just kind of continuing the model that they've always been doing.
Yeah.
Even Double Dragons, while it wasn't in your face, there was a back end leveling system for like unlocking the moves and stuff that you were doing as you progress through the game. I don't know how I feel about people referring to River City Girls as an RPG light. That's a weird title for it. And yeah,
RPG.
I feel like the term
Beat 'em up.
RPG, it is a beat 'em up, straight up. You can even say it's a beat 'em up RPG, but beat 'em up needs to be like the core like genre that it's in. But I feel like RPGs kind of just become too watered down as a term in the gaming industry. Like, just because you're
almost feel
leveling
like-
in a game doesn't make it an RPG.
Yeah. I mean, I almost feel like it has to be turn-based to be an RPG. Almost.
Well, I don't know about that because like I feel like the role part is important. Like there's certain aspects of this you could say you're playing an RPG because you're playing through a story where you're playing the roles of Kyoko and what's her name? Minato might be the other. I'm trying to remember.
But you're playing the role of somebody
Misako.
in every
Yeah,
game.
yeah. That's the issue, right? So it's like, what makes this different? If you were hardcore playing the role, going through, and you're there's grinding in River City Girls, and you're going back and forth. It's kind of open world and stuff. It's like the first one specifically, I could kind of see the argument for it, right? Like, what makes that different than playing Final Fantasy 15, where you're playing the roles of these characters, walking around and fighting random monsters, right? Like, 15 is kind of a beat 'em up in a way because you're not in turn-based combat and stuff, and you're just fighting things in the overworld, and you have combos and things like that. In fact, I can almost entirely say Final Fantasy 15 is a beat 'em up, but it's also still.
Are there levels? Are there levels in 15?
There are levels in 15. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that you'd have to have leveling up with some semblance of attributes. I mean, like it doesn't have to be like
attributes in River City Girls.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like Skyrim where you choose what attributes to level.
Yeah,
but there do have to be.
I think also another big thing is how the role you're playing impacts the story itself, right? Like, is another part of it. Yeah.
Sorry, keep going. I just got turned down.
So, like, you can have all this other stuff, and mechanically you have, like, that term RPG. But I think, like, how the role impacts the story, like, is the story written or the way you progress, does it matter which character you pick, right? Or is it written to where it assumes you always have both characters or whatever? I think that matters. It's like, take Final Fantasy 15, for example. You don't get to pick which character you're playing. You're always playing Noctis. They just throw you into the role of Noctis. You are playing as Noctis the entire time. You even get to pick some of Noctis's dialogue at different points of the game, too. Like, it feels almost tabletop-y in that way. A lot of these games where they throw the word RPG don't really have that feel to it, right? You're just playing through a story. It doesn't actually even feel like you're playing the role. It feels like you're playing through a level and then the story's happening to you in between crucial moments. Does it feel like you are a part of the story? That's one of the things I think Final Fantasy always got right, because there's a lot of story dialogue and stuff that happens in battle itself. Like, you're fighting Golbez, and he's, like, talking down to you as you're, like, crippled on the ground and things like that. I do believe the role part is probably the most important part to RPG, and there's all these mechanics that we've associated with it, and are good. We like these mechanics because it reminds us of D&D. But D&D is still an RPG, even if you take away all of the numbered mechanics from the game.
Yeah, I kind of think almost like, Final Fantasy almost harmed what we think of as a role-playing game.
Yeah.
In terms of, because very little of what you actually do actually affects the story. It's all kind of...
I think Dragon Quest as well. Like, the first Dragon Quest game, very RPG, because you could kind of, like, pick the direction you go. It's all just grindy. You don't even have to hit up half the towns or anything, because it's all just getting better gear for the final fight. But then after that, Dragon Quest 2 is basically like a Final Fantasy game at that point.
Right. And you can choose not to rescue the princess. In
like,
Dragon
you actually
Quest.
have decisions in Dragon Quest,
You can actually complete the game without doing that. But like Final Fantasy, you can't not do something, and nothing you do affects the end of the game. So it's but that's what we think of when we think of a computer role playing game.
Yeah, but like, we even go to older ones, right? Like, we go back to the older Ultima games. I think they're definitely far more RPG than what we've come to know, like Final Fantasy as. And then we have a lot of, like, stuff that even still had stats.
They're more
like MUDs and
open
text
world.
adventure games also had more role playing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're more open world. Those in like
Yeah.
Pool of Radiance, Curse of the Azure Bonds, they're more. Well, Curse was more linear, unfortunately, but Pool of Radiance especially was very just wide open, like kind of like, okay, just go.
Yeah,
there are a number of things that you can do to progress the story, but you don't have to do them in order. You can go left, right, up, down. You can do anything you want.
So that's always been like my issue. And I understand limitations, especially going to the NES, which is even at the time one of the most limiting ways to make a game. I mean, it's an upgrade from, say, being on an Atari system or like, I don't know, the Intellivision. But if you wanted to make a powerful game, you could charge people a quarter a life or whatever, and you can go to the arcade where the systems were more powerful and you had less restrictions. But the NES is where people were making their like at-home premium high-dollar games, and it was a very limiting system by comparison.
Well, but Ultima 3 was on the NES.
Yeah. Or you could have make a computer game, but people don't really play games on the computer. You're selling to a very niche audience, and computer games at the time were more powerful than the NES was by a big margin. I think like even your average computer had twice the RAM that the NES had at that time, which was a huge difference back then.
The NES didn't have to have an operating system.
Yeah, it didn't. It was basically everything was working digitally, but almost the same as like analog parts. It's like everything's right there. All the information you needed was between the motherboard and the cartridge of the game itself. But so like Final Fantasy had to be limited, the first one. And even to some degree, Dragon Quest, though, was way less limited than Final Fantasy, even being a predecessor. Because you couldn't put in all these options. You had to load things in order and stuff like that. And that's also why you can break the sequence of the game so crazily now, because of the way things were told to load off of each other.
Yeah.
And to me, I always thought the word open world RPG was like an acronym. Yeah, it was like very, very redundant because like RPGs should be open world. They couldn't be to some degree before, with Dragon Quest being one of the few examples because of limitations. But like the whole goal was to always make it open world, because if you don't get to pick what you're doing or whatever, you're not really deciding what the role does.
Yeah.
Right. Zelda 2 to some degree is actually more of an RPG than some, and that's only because like you still have an ultimate goal. You could just sequence breaking was not much of a thing because there was all kinds of shit you could do out of order in that game. They're kind of like a preferred order for the route the game developers designed, but like if you were good, you could sneak past things, like jump underneath certain, or have enemies jump over you, past different things you weren't strong enough to kill yet. Like that one's more of an RPG than a lot of games that followed up after it. The Faxanadu too, I would consider actually an RPG, because you get to decide a lot of the direction of what you do in Faxanadu.
Yeah. And in Faxanadu, there's like levels, aren't there? I know you can get better weapons and armor and that kind of thing.
Well, Faxanadu, which I think is actually slightly older than Zelda 2. I always had to look it up because I can't remember who was like ripping who off with the style, and I think actually Faxanadu might have been like a bit older, but it might have been a coincidence because I think they would have been developing at the same time. Even if one was older than the other. They came out in like 6 months apart or something like that. It basically has that Zelda 2 style, except you're just in that side-scrolling thing the whole time, like the way the towns and the battles are. But aside from that, it's like it's very much playing a tabletop game. Everything about it is like almost D&D, but instead of it being turn-based, you're just doing everything in real time as it's loading in the game. And I'm like, that's what RPGs are supposed to be like. That's why I never complained about older, like Elder Scrolls games. I only really start complaining with Skyrim, because Skyrim is kind of taking the role part away more. You are playing a role. You're not playing your character anymore. You're playing the Dovahkiin. But your decisions are mattering less and less with each Elder Scrolls game as well. It's just kind of like, choose how you want your character to progress. But even if you choose this, it's not like you're changing the map of Morrowind like you used to back in the day. So yeah, I don't know. I think the game industry slaughtered a lot of genres, like fighter. Fighter's been kind of slaughtered. Fatal Fury is a beat 'em up. That's also kind of a fighter. And if you go that far back, it's like, yeah, fighters could be used for beat 'em ups as well. But now it's just like, if you think of a fighter, we think of the 1v1 fighting game. And it's like, kind of, they're both fighters though. Like, I get it. We slaughter everything. It's all gone to shit.
Yeah. Did you know Faxanadu was part of the series, the Xanadu series?
I did not know that. I've only known about that one game.
Yeah, it's a series of games. One of them's called Xanadu. And then there's Dragon Slayer 2 Xanadu. These may have been Japan only.
Maybe. I've only ever heard
Maybe
of
not.
Faxanadu. And I always assumed that the word Xanadu is from the old Mongolian story, which is also the reference the song in Greece is making.
No, and then there's a game on Steam called Xanadu Next that's relatively recent.
I think it might have even started as a novel too, because I believe somebody wrote a novel titled Xanadu, whose basis was from the old Mongolian story, because Xanadu's kind of like I don't remember exactly. I think it's not quite like heaven or nirvana, but it's probably closer to like the Elysium Fields or Valhalla or whatever, but it's kind of like a paradise that they saw it.
Yeah, the latest in the Xanadu series came out in 2016.
Wow, I didn't even know it was still going on.
Yeah.
Or that it was going on at all, other than that one entry.
I actually didn't know that either. But I knew that Faxanadu was part of a series.
Yeah. That was a buggy game.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Like, I remember playing it as a kid, and I never got anywhere with it as a kid. It was just, it was too hard for, because I came out in 87, so I would have been 10. And it was too hard for a 10-year-old. But,
I think the first time I played it, I was probably like 6, because my parents just already had a copy of the game. And yeah, no, it's way too hard. Yeah.
But I played it recently and actually got much farther than I ever did when I was a kid. So.
And you probably had the manual at the time, whether you looked at it or not, right? Because you had the game new, right?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah. Me, by the time I got to play it, I didn't even have the option of looking at the manual. One of the things that helped me get through it later on was I found out that, like, all the basis of the game was explained in the manual, like the backstory of how you got to the starting point of the game, who your character was, not only just the controls, but like what your goal was, what you were supposed to do was also explained in the manual. It's like, oh, I get it now. I wish I had this as a kid. I would have read it. I probably still wouldn't have gotten that far, but I probably would have gotten a lot farther than where I was.
Yeah. I remember it just being confused with the names of the magic spells. Oh, because like the first spell you get is called like Deluge or something. And I remember thinking, like, doesn't that have something to do with water? But it's like an energy beam, and it's like, this is the weirdest.
Yeah, no, I mean, it kind of makes sense though, right? Because Deluge has to do with like fluids in general, so
yeah.
You could say like the energy is diluting outward, right?
I guess, yeah.
Deluge is also currently my favorite torrenting program.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That game. I don't know. I think that game was meant to be confusing, though. I think that was part of the point, because it was part of like the game was figuring things out.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of miss that.
First,
what would you say?
The first spell is called Deluge.
Deluge.
I just remembered that off the top of my head.
I kind of miss that aspect of games where like part of the game itself was figuring out. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Elden Ring and the Souls series does so well, because there's a lot of just figuring things out in those games.
Yeah.
Not even just like the mechanics. It's not, they don't throw you really into a tutorial. You kind of have to like just roll your first time and then like hit buttons to swing the sword. At least that's how it was when I played the older Souls games. I doubt they changed anything for Elden Ring in that regard. But it's just like everything is figuring out. You walk into a person's like, is that an enemy or an NPC? You don't know yet. Thing just started attacking. You have to figure out the patterns, figure out what you have to do to it. I think there's like a really strong case in point that part of why games are less fun is because they hold the user's hand so much, and they don't just let you figure things out on your own. And there's some, especially complicated games, I get certain levels of tutorials, certain levels of telling you what to do. But I think, like, you really sit there and look on yourself. Is this something I wouldn't have figured out just mashing buttons at the start of the game? Okay, maybe that goes into tutorial. If I was a player and I was just mashing random buttons at the beginning, would I figure out how this works? Yes? Don't put that in a tutorial or anything like that. I think it's very, like, almost simple if-then statement right there. Simple flowchart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's see, what else did I have? We've got, like I said, the Microsoft Activision merger has been delayed. It was originally going to have a June deadline, and that's not happening. It may not even happen before the end of the fiscal year.
it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's because of the whole FTC schedule, where they're meeting and everything. They have to basically have a hearing in front of them. It's probably going to turn into a full-blown court case.
Does it have something to do with the lawsuits around
Yeah,
it? Or?
all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
And because of their schedule, the first hearing won't even be until August 2nd, which is past their original June deadline. So, yeah,
Wow.
that's being pushed back quite a bit.
Oh, well. Takes so long. It's almost like it might be a completely different company in a
Oh yeah,
completely different situation by then.
there
Depending
might not
on-
even be an Activision by then.
Yeah, really. Well, I hear that Dragonflight is actually pretty good as far as World of Warcraft.
I've heard mixed responses,
releases.
but it's overall been more positive than normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Asmongold talk about it, and he's saying, like, apparently it's not gotten a whole lot of, like, there haven't been a whole lot of new or returning World of Warcraft players, but it's not really because of the release. It's more the controversies and
Yeah.
everything. And he's been saying, like, well, but this is a really good release, as sort of like a rebuilding phase. Like the next release is, if they keep going like this, is going to be way more popular. And so it's really good. It's really good. A new, sort of like a new start or a new platform for.
You know what's the most
growing the game.
controversial thing they could ever do, and they should totally do it? Is you know how they're doing the classic stuff, right? And they're like slowly building new servers for each of the old things. I think they should stop where they are with that and fork it, and then make just a completely different series of new content going off of the classic thing. That's like a different alternate universe. Wow.
Well, they're up to Wrath of the Lich King, and
Yeah.
I think that's about where things started to go downhill before.
Oh yeah, dude, I was
So-
hyped for it. Like the trailers and everything were fine, but I fucking hated Cataclysm. Cataclysm was the absolute worst. Fuck Cataclysm.
Yeah. Is that what the next one would be
I think that was the last. It was the one where Deathwing
after Wrath?
came into
Yeah.
it or whatever. Yeah, I think that's.
I didn't know if that was that right after Wrath of the Lich King.
I think so. I just remember I fucking hated it. It was so hyped. It looked like it was going
Yeah.
to be cool. It's like, no, dude, this fucking expansion sucks. I think that's actually why I stopped playing too was because of Cataclysm. I did try a little bit back again with what's it called, Mists, and I did enjoy Mist. I thought Mist was kind of good, but I don't. A lot of people hate Mist, and I'm thinking maybe I just think that Mist was good because it wasn't Cataclysm. Like there might have been that kind of bias. Like the bar was lowered before that, but then I hated everything after that. Like I'll peek back in. I'll start like a new trial account just so I can like see if like mechanically the game feels any better, if it's worth getting back into it to play the new content. I'll watch some people playing the content and stuff, and it's like, no, it has not really hooked me in a while. I haven't tried even playing like a new trial account in Dragonflight just to see if like it feels better to play at the beginning areas. But I've watched some content too, and it's like, okay, people who are already enjoying the game, I could see why you're enjoying it.
Yeah, I used to do that every once in a while to kind of like start a new account or log into my old account and see what the difference is. I don't think I'll ever do that again just because it's just like it's the same old thing over and over.
And I never get. You have to replay through all the content, but you have to try it because they change the fucking classes every single time. So it's like, okay, I got to play the beginning. Yeah. Does Paladin still play like Paladin? Can I still DPS? Can I, or am I stuck to just being a healer or a tank now because the Paladin's DPS sucks?
Yeah, and I never got far enough to do like the end game raids or anything like that. So, but I liked Cataclysm just because they really focused in on the early game. Early game changes. So
like the early game was fine. It's just like the Cataclysm content was awful. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, that's somewhat a controversial. I feel like people were 50-50 on Cataclysm. Like I knew people who loved it, I knew people that hated it. I didn't know too many people that were very neutral towards it, like many of the other expansions.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if Dragonflight is saving Blizzard, like I don't think there's enough people.
No, I don't know either.
I don't think Overwatch 2 is making enough money for release. It's been pretty people have been apathetic about it. There's a lot of people playing it, but it's like normal new game numbers. It's not like Overwatch 1 numbers when it was new. Some people are actually complaining. I saw one of the things I didn't bring up that they were saying that who was it? Was it a Widowmaker or whatever? Somebody's skin they were calling pay to lose because the way the animations and stuff were, it was actually like deceiving the user or whatever. It was actually worse off playing with that skin than you were playing just like no skin, neutral version character.
Pay to lose.
Yeah. I think part of it too was maybe the skin had different voice lines. I saw this in League once. Where due to character interactions, there was an invisible character, and he walked in range of a character that had an interaction, and they knew the character was nearby because he said his voice line when he was supposed to have the interaction. And it's like, I know you're within like 1,200 units of me because I said the voice line, and it just completely ruined the surprise attack.
Oh.
Because they think they're doing fun, lively things. It's cool to have character interactions, but then you actually kind of like overstep your bounds on what is good and ruin gameplay because it like ruins a character's mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, pay to lose skins. There's a couple pay to win skins in the League. There's a Blitzcrank skin that's kind of like it's kind of Apple product-y, but it's also kind of based off of iRobot. I forget the name. It might be called iBlitzcrank or something like that. And the character has a hook, like a rocket punch where he grabs the person and pulls them back to him. And this one, the punch is just like a laser because he's supposed to be all like futuristic and pulsy. And you can't actually really see the animation, so you just have to like have the hitbox for his grab memorized and stay out of the range of that. You can't even like visually dodge it like you normally would, and then people call it like a pay to win skin. They're actually, I don't know if it's still a thing, but they used to be told that the professionals weren't supposed to play that skin on in tournaments because of the unfair advantage that it had. It was like, then why is the skin in the game? Why don't you just fix the skin to where it has a normal rocket punch like everything else?
Yeah.
Money, that's why.
Indeed. There's a funny magazine, like couple of articles that I thought you might enjoy if I can find them.
Ooh. I do like magazines.
Just the headlines was funny. I just have to find it, but it was basically talking. It was some gaming magazine where it showed like on one half of the page it said like the creator of Mario was honored with some award or something, and then it said the creator of Sonic is in jail or something.
Oh, no.
It's just funny the
back.
Yeah, the juxtaposition I thought was hilarious.
My mascot is better than yours. His creator got an award. Yours is in prison.
That's right. Oh, here,
what was
yeah.
the Sonic creator thing? Wasn't it like due to like something like a rug pull or something? I forgot what it was.
Insider trading.
Insider trading.
Insider
That
trading.
was it. Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, and it reminded everybody. Here, I've got it. It reminded people of Back to the Future, because it was like the newspaper where it says like George McFly murdered and George McFly honored, and it said just here. Let me show you. You can see this. It says Miyamoto celebrated. Father of Mario has just turned 70 years old. Naka arrested. Father of Sonic has just been sent to jail.
Yeah. Oh, hey. I have that exact same arcade 1-up machine sitting right next to me.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was funny. This guy says, why does this feel like someone hopped inside of a DeLorean time machine to alter a timeline?
It looks like it was presented that way, too, by the magazine.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
That's really good presentation.
It's on the same page, yeah.
Yeah, for like almost like a mascot war situation.
That's kind of hilarious. And someone put this side by side, George McFly murdered, George McFly honored, Emmett Brown. So
yeah,
thought that was humorous. At any rate, yes, the respective fathers of those two mascots sure have gone in different directions, apparently. Actually, not up until now. I mean,
yeah,
I think the guy was still a game developer, but
yeah, and who even knows, like, because I didn't look into it, right? You said insider trading. I have to know what they mean by that, because insider trading can mean a lot of different things. And a lot of stuff that's marked insider trading is like in a gray area ethically, where it's like, I might have had knowledge of this thing, and I chose to do it anyway. I always have a problem with those charges, because there's some things that are very clearly ethically wrong when it comes to insider trading.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm a senator, and I can influence things. So I go and I buy something real quick before we pass a bill that's gonna influence, or I sell all my stuff beforehand. Blah blah blah.
Of course, that stuff happens all the time. And
it does, and it is illegal. But because they're the ones that are at the top of the chain, they don't get caught for it, like ever.
Yeah.
And even if
maybe
they do,
it's
usually
more
like a slap of the wrist.
Now, I assume that guy's in Japan.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more illegal in Japan, or more well defined. I don't know.
Well, he's also not a Japanese politician either, so.
Right.
It's a lot easier to get individuals in corporations, because a company will very, very easily throw one person under the bus to save the rest of their skin.
Mm-hmm. But he must have had some inside information about the company and decided to. Yeah,
because it's like,
shouldn't.
where's the line, right? Like, obviously, if you saw the quarterly reports before it became public, and you decided to sell a lot of stock or whatever, that would be unethical. But like,
Yeah.
if you worked on the game and you had no idea about the finances, you're like, this isn't going to sell well, I know, because of the way they forced me to make it, and then you sold a lot of stock, would that still be insider trading? Because like, that's just more of a gut of like, I worked on this product and I don't think people are going to buy it, right? Or vice versa, I worked on it and I think a lot of people are, so let me put more investment in to get a higher return after that.
Yeah. I don't know what exactly the rules are, but I think if you have stock in your own company and it's a publicly traded company, you should hire an attorney.
Oh, I think period. Well, I mean, if you have a company, and this is another thing, throwing people under the bus, I think there needs to be more loyalty in a company. If somebody's been with you for 10 years and they're suddenly getting like insider trade, or in this guy's case, is the creator of Sonic, so he's been around for like what, almost 30 years. He's like in the 20-year range right now, back in the 90s. It's like, if you've been with a company that long or have any relationship, the company's attorney should be doing stuff for you. Like, he should be working his damnedest to get you at least as much off the hook as possible. It's like, okay, pay a fine, I'll pay a fine, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I would think you would have to consult with your attorney before you do anything with your company stocks, with your company.
Oh, yeah, period.
Yeah. So...
And every large corporation should have a attorney on retainer, if not like a sole attorney. That's all they do is work for you. Because these bigger holdings companies, almost all of them have a personal attorney because they're dealing with so much different legal and finance-based stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand things like, Martha Stewart going to jail for tax evasion. Was that what it was? And it was like, surely she doesn't do her own taxes. Like, why? It doesn't even...
Well, normally, so there's like two things. One, they will try to get you on a technicality. So like, you are otherwise good, but you got caught on a technicality. That's how they got Wesley Snipes, right? He went to Africa to film a movie, and there was like some lapse that they got him on a technicality on, and because he was out of the country, they got him for fleeing to a foreign country for tax evasion, right? And that's why he was in prison for so many years. They didn't extradite him or anything. He didn't know. He comes back to shore, and they like arrest him immediately.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, it's always on a technicality.
Like, he didn't do his own
Is
taxes.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, if it's not on a technicality, for when it comes to celebrities, it's because they weren't completely upfront with their own accountant, right? Like, they didn't give their accountant all of their assets. They've got something over here or over there, and then the IRS finds out about it.
Well, at any rate.
It's not like he's Al Capone. That's how they got Al Capone, was on tax evasion, finally. Like, they couldn't get him on anything else.
Yeah.
But
that's why I always pay all my taxes plus extra.
Well, that's the thing. Some people think he went to jail for tax evasion. No, that's how they booked him, was on tax evasion. He went to jail for all the other stuff that came out once they finally got him in courts and on discovery. But if they need to get you into the courts, the IRS is the easiest way to do it, because, trust me, nobody's perfect. They can find something to get you on no matter who you are. You think you're caught up, and they'll find like $5 off somewhere.
I told you that time an IRS agent showed up at my door, right? Like, knocking on my door at home.
Yeah.
And they were there to literally tell me that I had a refund, like, waiting in some escrow account.
Yeah.
And that I should probably claim it because it's just sitting there. It's my money. And I was like, oh, wow, you came to my door to tell me that? That's nice.
Yeah.
Like, there's several $1,000s over here that you should probably get. It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
Well, that's the IRS doesn't like owing you money.
Yeah, I guess not.
Right. And that's why they make sure you get your regular tax return and stuff, because it's basically just the change of you overpaying and stuff like that. Usually your employer overpays because it's what they think you owe, but then it turns out like you actually have more deductions than your employer knows about, and you end up getting change back. I never claim my change ever, because I have to pay my own in as a freelancer, because I'd rather them be in the hole and not me. It's like, I don't care if you owe me money, I just don't want to owe you. If you owe me money, then I know we're on good terms. Leave me alone.
Yeah. I think it was from when I started my company as a sole proprietorship, and I switched it at some point, a few years after I started, I switched to an LLC. And so I think the sole proprietorship had paid taxes into an escrow account, but then I switched to the LLC and forgot to move the money over.
Oh, okay.
So the LLC ended up paying that tax again for that same year, and I neglected. I forgot about it or something. So it wasn't even me. It was the company. But yeah, IRS agent comes at your door and like hands you their card. And you're like, oh my God, what's going on?
It reminds me of there's a cartoon called Dan Versus, right? Which I think the title was actually going to be Dan Versus the World, but because Scott Pilgrim versus the World was already a thing, they just only went with Dan Versus. But it's a funny show about this guy who he's kind of like angry. He's basically Flit. Dan Versus is basically Flit to some degree. Flit, but if he was as much of a wild man as me. And and small. Dan is small. But he's this angry guy who's always starting trouble. He's getting into fights with people, blowing things up and stuff like that. And he has like a friend or two that he hangs out with as like his friend and his girlfriend. But like otherwise he's just a hermit that hates everyone. And there's this one bit in it where like I think like a supermodel moved next door to him, and she goes up and she introduces herself. It's like, oh, hi, I live next door. And she's beautifully drawn supermodel, and she's almost even like hitting on him because he's a guy and she's new to the area and doesn't know anyone. And he just immediately says, I don't care who the IRS sends, I'm not paying my taxes, and just slams the door shut. And if you want to imagine the execution, I don't know who plays Dan, but he basically sounds identical to Razor Fist. So imagine if Razor Fist's voice was coming out of like a small, angry cartoon character.
Yeah.
It's a great show. I don't know if people have never watched Dan Versus, but they should do it. It's one of the few good cartoon shows I think that came out after I stopped watching cartoons regularly, like high school and stuff like that.
Speaking of Razor Fist, he did a video, I think this morning, that came out this morning about limited run games. That's pretty good.
That was this morning, wasn't it? So like it must have been early this morning. To me, it came out last night, but then I'm thinking like, no, that was probably this morning. I just went to bed after the video came out.
Yeah. And he mentioned that they did something like this before that I didn't know.
I didn't either. It was like really low brow because like I bought stuff after that point.
Yeah, it was like what was it? Something in 2019
or low key. I don't know.
I'll have to watch the video again, but yeah, he brought up that they did some virtue signal or something.
They canceled somebody's orders on them after.
That's what it was. Yeah, they said something online or something, and
and the guy had like a whole bunch of orders. I think he was like some he was like a reviewer. I wouldn't call him a journalist in that case, but he was technically a journalist. I think he was like a reviewer and stuff. He had a bunch of orders and he just canceled all of his orders on him.
Yeah. I didn't know. It kind of rung a bell. Like I kind of remember that.
Might have heard about this.
Yeah. But yeah, he really pulled that out and it's like, yeah, they've done this before, done this kind of stuff. What is this music? It's terrible.
I mean, this is it's from Final Fantasy X.
Oh gosh.
It's the timer music, like when you've got to finish the dungeon or the trial for Yuna in a certain amount of time, or else the temple's gonna fall. It's that.
Okay.
It's a remix called A flat.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very repetitive.
Yeah, I mean, timer music usually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We've complained about it. I actually think I've removed this song from the playlist before, and for some reason, my computer re-adds it, even if I take it out of the playlist. I'm like, why? But yeah, I could jump to something else. It's really long too. That's the thing. Like it's
like, when does this end?
It's not about like even just the sound. It's the fact that it goes on way longer than it probably should. But yeah. And I think when I did hear about that case before, where they canceled the stuff, I probably didn't know it was like a virtue signal. I thought it was like beef. Like I thought it was like petty beef between that person and the company, and that's probably why I paid it no mind back then.
Yeah.
But especially given the context of this recent one, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like a very similar case. But this is way worse since it was like their actual community manager that had been with them for like 5 years.
Yeah, that sucked. Yeah, this was a major escalation when you're firing a long-term employee.
Yeah,
a long-time employee that did nothing wrong. Like
well,
nothing.
It's even worse too. Is where are they?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, so they're not an at-will state. So their hire's not and fire's not at will, but they also have provisions against discriminating for political beliefs that just passed in North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, they are an at-will.
Oh, they are.
So,
I heard they weren't.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. If they're not, then it was definitely illegal. I mean, they would have to show cause to fire someone. But yeah, I did hear that North Carolina recently passed a non-discrimination for politics bill. So
yeah, well,
I hope she
even
sues.
if they're not an at-will, we don't know how long back the pink slip or whatever was actually given, right? Before we found out, we assumed she was fired that day, right? That's what the story said. But they could give cause that was different, and then it came out due to the controversy.
Oh. No, I mean,
yeah.
They put out a statement saying why they did it.
Yeah, but did they put out the statement after the news came out? I thought we found out before the statement happened.
No.
I might have my timeline wrong. Yeah.
That's the only way we know that she got fired.
Oh, see, I thought somebody else put out a statement first.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I probably just have the timeline backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Before we end, I know we're not got a few minutes. Did you have any other stories that you really wanted to get in there?
That I really wanted to get in there? No, I did want to poke some fun at the fact that Xbox consoles will now default to energy saving options.
I saw that.
Yeah, because they're trying to reduce their carbon footprint. It's just like, yeah, but everybody's just going to turn it off anyway.
Does that make it slower? Like,
yeah, the energy saving options, what they tend to do is it like caps like GPU processing to a certain level. Because it caps frame rate and graphics display, and it'll also like dim the screen after 10 minutes or whatever if there's no input, and put your system to sleep after 20. Nobody cares about the last two, but they do.
PlayStation does that.
Yeah,
yeah.
They do care about like the whole capping your actual like GPU, so that your frame rate gets capped, and everybody's just gonna turn that off anyway.
Except people who don't realize it or something. And they're
gonna
think it's nuts. Yeah. It's like, why is this running slower all of a sudden?
Mm-hmm. Well, if they get like a new one, right, and they don't know, because like after the update, they may not even know the difference, right? Because that's just the way that their Xbox was always running.
Yeah.
You can't just do that on the fly like a PC. No, Xbox doesn't have like a keyboard where you can have like a hotkey set for changing your PC's energy mode or whatever. You actually have to pull up a menu to change things in the Xbox. You know.
Mm. Well, I wanted to mention that Quantum Leap is back.
Oh, okay.
On Peacock. Although they only did 2 episodes on January 3rd and the 10th. And then, or was it the 10th? I guess so, because I guess I just watched it yesterday. And then they got a big like 3-week hiatus again. So the next episode doesn't come out until the 30th, but it looks interesting. It looks interesting. It's like a reminds me of an episode of Star Trek. Apparently, there's like there was a trailer to sort of indicate what the next episode is. Apparently, like he leaps into this person and there's this accident, like a nuclear explosion or something, and he dies. And then he immediately leaps into like the person next to them. And there's like all these people, and like he's like leaping from person to person. And it keeps like looping and looping and looping, and he keeps dying every time.
Wow.
So that looks like an interesting episode.
This isn't the first show that did that. I remember one of the earlier ones I remember happening was Rick and Morty, right? Where they came out with like an episode 3 months before the rest of the series was happening. But then like there was another month gap between like the last 2 episodes of that season. And I understand like maybe there's delay on production or whatever, and they're thinking like market research. We don't want people to forget or lose interest in the show. So because editing is done with this episode or these 2, we're just going to put these out and then wait a little bit longer for the rest of the series to catch up on production. I don't know, but like I feel like that has to be the reason, is that they, instead of just waiting for everything to be done, they want to make sure that you don't lose interest in it. Because they could have just said, hey, we're delaying it 3 weeks, and then every episode's going to be week after week after week, instead of having like these 2 and then going on hiatus.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if that next one is going to be the last one of the season, or...
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it has to do with... I think they extended the season. I think it got good enough ratings that maybe they added more episodes to season 1.
So instead of going on to season 2, they were just extending the plot line of season 1. Where I'm assuming season 2 would have just picked up where this is going.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that. That would throw the whole schedule off, though. Like, extending seasons is a really dumb idea. Like, you should have your whole season planned from the get-go.
Well, but I mean, it shouldn't be that bad if you already had planned to have a hiatus of a couple of months in the middle. Then you can continue to film. I don't know, but I don't understand why they released 2 episodes.
Right? It's like, sure, we could just borrow the script from the beginning of the next season if we're just extending the season, but like that means we have to call everybody back to film because we had already finished season 1, and then we have to get the production to work on it and stuff. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like a very smart idea overall to extend a season after you already knew what it was going to be. I think
they decided that while they were still filming it, maybe, or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But it does look promising. Like I remember reading something that like they may have already signed up for a season 2. So that's
good. Yeah, for people,
especially since.
Definitely. Yeah.
Did you hear 1899 got canceled? Did I tell you that?
I think we talked about it sort of. I didn't know straight up got canceled, but yeah.
Yeah, after 1 season. And they totally left it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's what I remember now, because you're saying like I would hate it because they left it on a cliffhanger. I don't know why they do that. I just don't.
Well, the same like showrunner team had done a very similar show before, Dark. It's called Dark, and they didn't have any problems with doing 3 seasons. So I guess they just assumed, they're going to give us 3 seasons for this too.
Yeah, no, that's dumb.
Nope, canceled.
God.
Oh well. They also canceled.
Oh, they canceled.
Well, did I ever tell you they canceled the Time Traveler's Wife season 2?
I don't know if you told me. I didn't even know they were
Am I-
doing a series for the Time Traveler's Wife.
Oh my god, that show is so good.
Yeah.
I never told you about that. Oh my god.
I don't think
I love
think
that-
that we talked about this because I'm familiar with the
Oh.
old property of the Time Traveler's Wife. I didn't know they made a series based off of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they made a TV series. I think it's on, I want to say HBO. Maybe HBO Max. Maybe, I don't remember. But yeah, season 1 was so good. Oh my gosh, with the girl who played Ygritte in Game of Thrones,
Oh,
the
okay.
redhead.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know who the guy is that they got to play in that, but oh my god, season 1 was so good, and then they canceled it. Shit. Oh well.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. I was saying, like, if I was gonna make a series, I would treat every season almost like a movie, just a really long one with each episode kind of being like an act of the movie, just so that like the plot was wrapped up by the end of the season, but we could
Yeah.
make it to where the next season could be a sequel to that plot, or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I think probably better than Kirkman did in the comics itself, where they picked to stop Invincible was a really good spot because it wrapped up the storyline of the whole arc of Omni-Man
Yeah.
being secretly the bad guy and left open the next arc. I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's how you should do a show. That was the perfect stopping point for a season.
Yeah, and frankly, like Stranger Things did that pretty well.
Oh yeah, I
mean-
loved the first season. I still have not seen
Yeah.
it. I've seen like random bits of episodes after that, but I've still just
Yeah.
like have not seen a single season after the first one.
The latest season, I think, is really good. Like they got back to, true to form.
Is that the last season? Like, have they confirmed that was the last
There's going to be one more at
one? Okay,
least.
you know what? I'll wait. I will finally watch all of it. I will wait till the last season is all up, and then I will go back and watch everything I haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will make that promise. I will eventually catch up on Stranger Things.
Okay. Okay.
But I still think the first season ended so perfectly in like a Lovecraftian way that I just didn't want there
Yeah.
to be anything after that.
Yeah, it went downhill for a couple of seasons there.
Yeah.
But then this latest one was really, really good. So,
Yeah, my brother and my mom were watching, and they both really, really liked it. And I saw some bits from it, so it's like, yeah. I'll eventually watch it, sure.
and it's cool how they keep bringing in new D&D characters, but like they're actually real existing characters in the
Oh, yeah.
D&D lore.
Yeah, like I can't remember his name, but he was one of the Lich Kings from the old D&D adventures, and they actually made him the main nightmare bad guy. From,
Yeah, Velspar. I don't starts with a V.
Some V,
Vespa, something like
I
that.
can never remember his name, but I knew the character when they said his name.
Vecna.
Vecna, yeah. It's like,
That's what it
oh yeah,
was.
dude, that's a Lich. I know that guy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a good villain for that season,
Yeah.
but he's not dead. He's not
Very,
dead.
very Freddy
Still around.
Krueger-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's the end of the
We
show.
made it.
Yeah, we did. More importantly, you made it.
Just barely.
Yeah. Oh, if they could just see the text messages, all the random emojis that I send. Bombs, dynamite, volcano explosion.
Yeah, I was, and I set an alarm, and I slept right through that, and I slept through it, the text message, and somehow I woke up 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start. So,
Something inside you was yelling, saying, "Get on!"
I mean, you could also call me if you really
I
want
could.
to.
I didn't think about it. I could.
Yeah, well.
That'll probably ring longer than just the buzz from the text. Yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway,
but anyway,
thank you for joining. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with somebody else who would like it. Grow that audience, have more people in the chat yelling at us. And if you really enjoy the show, consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live. Pays for my soda fund. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
bye-bye.
support the show at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live. Enjoy the show! Vomitorium at www.streamlabs.com/Vomitorium Live.